Howdy, partners. It's Sports Cowboy Jay on this beautiful Sunday morning, or freezing, depending on what part of the country you're in. I know some places are covered in inches and inches of snow, while here in the beautiful city of San Diego, it's a little wet, but nothing to complain about with the beautiful 60-degree weekend going on here. It is time for another weekend recap of sports from the week that was. Gonna try to get to as many headlines as we can in the next 30 minutes. Of course, there is going to be a lot to cover. There was some big things that took place this week. Of course, we're gonna get to the biggest headlines. Two of them, sadly, are injuries. We're gonna talk about Kevin Durant and what his injury means to the playoff race and to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we're going to talk about DRose and his third knee surgery in 4 years. That poor boy. Whew, can't stay off of the surgery table. Woo-wee. We're also going to talk about Adrian Peterson. Is he going to stay a Viking? Should he go elsewhere? What would you do? Do you chase the bacon? You know how much I love bacon. Bacon, especially lathered up in syrup and with some buttery pancakes with it. Ooh, nothing better than buttery, syrupy pancakes with bacon. Oh, sorry, I got distracted by bacon when I was thinking about it. Will he go after the bacon, or will he go after championships? Do the Vikings want him? Does he want to stay a Viking? We'll try to cover that as well. And, of course, here in San Diego, the big news, the Chargers Stadium. Are they going to stay in San Diego, or are they going to head to L.A., where they're going to join their rival, the Oakland Raiders, to build what looks like a cruise ship almost in the new stadium that they're showing that they want? We're going to talk about that. And then if we have some time, we're going to talk about the NBA MVP race. To me, it looks like it's a 4-horse race between Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, James Harden, and LeBron James, the king. So we're going to cover all of that here in the next few minutes. First and foremost, let's talk about the one that is the most dear to me, because you know I'm from Oklahoma City. So Kevin Durant, it was announced last week, will be out for the next week. So the week's almost over now, with a foot injury. Had the screw replaced. I am no doctor. Lord knows I'm not a doctor. But supposedly he's only supposed to be out for a short time. Just had the screw replaced. Screw was rubbing against the bone, and then he's supposed to get that replaced and supposed to be reevaluated this week. So hopefully in the next coming days we will find out his evaluation. Here's the thought process on this is, from what I've gathered and from what I've heard and from all the studies I've done, it says if there's just the screw rubbing against the bone and they can go in and replace that screw, then he could be back within 2 or 3 weeks. If he rebroke the foot, it's going to be a long playoff season for Oklahoma City, because unfortunately we may not see him back again. So hopefully it will only be a minor injury and he can get back on the floor, and we will see, because if he gets back on the floor, from what I saw this last week, the way that Russell Westbrook is playing, the way that these new players have integrated to the floor, it looks like a team that could be very, very dangerous. If you take the way Russell Westbrook is playing with the reigning MVP, Kevin Durant, and you put him with those pieces that they just got in the trade a week ago, this team may be the scariest team come May, come June, and they could be lifting a banner and holding up trophies at the end of June, pending on what could happen if he can stay healthy. If he is out, I think this team is done in the first round, maybe the second round, pending on how far they can move up, but I don't think they are going to be able to get past Golden State or the Memphis Grizzlies, because I don't know if they can get much higher than the 7th seed. So it'll be interesting to see going forward how healthy he is, if he's able to go. But if he's able to go after a week or two, Russell Westbrook and company have been able to hold this team together. I know they just lost 2 games this weekend, but they are holding strong. They're in the 8th spot. New Orleans sitting right behind them. Phoenix still right there. The Spurs have fallen back a little bit, and they're within reach as well. So they're sitting in a good spot right now. They just got to make a strong run, and I think they can do that if Kevin Durant can get back. Without him, I still think they can make the playoffs, but they can't go much deeper than that. So we're hoping Kevin Durant can recover. Now to the other big NBA injury, which is sad to say, Derrick Rose has gone out with another injury again. His meniscus, his right meniscus, the one that he tore last year, has been torn again. He will go in for surgery. Now, Chicago has come out and said it will be a minor procedure. They expect him back in 4 to 6 weeks. That's the good news. The bad news is this is heartbreaking for Chicago fans. It is heartbreaking to NBA fans, and you got to just feel as a human being, not even as an NBA fan, just for Derrick Rose, because this guy has torn his ACL, torn his meniscus, and now torn his meniscus again, and the guy was a reigning MVP, and he had superstardom written all over him, but he just can't seem to get healthy, and I don't know if he's ever going to be the same Derrick Rose again. And I mean, that's really the reality, is what it comes down to. Is we had a special player in Derrick Rose, born and raised in Chicago, drafted #1 overall by his Chicago Bulls, his hometown team, and it would have been special for him to be able to play out a long career there, hopefully bring a championship or two, and it looks like he'll be lucky if he can even stay in the league for 5 more years. I mean, I'm thinking maybe at best he can be like the next Amari Stoudemire, where Amari was, a former 7, 8-time All-Star, got some knee troubles in New York, and now he's a good role player for about 15 minutes. But I don't know if Derrick Rose can really give you 15. I don't know if you can rely on him with those knees. I mean, he knows his body better than anybody else, or maybe doctors know better at this point, but I'm hoping he can at least be a good role player. I'd love to see Derrick Rose. He's one of the most exciting, electrifying players there's ever been in the NBA, and it'd be nice if he could come back again and be the player he was, but it's sad to say I don't know if we'll ever see that again, based off of his medical history over the last 4 years. I mean, 3 knee surgeries. He's played in just a handful of games. I mean, it's heartbreaking. I mean, honestly, the only reaction that I can really come up with right now is this. I mean, truth be told, I mean, all you can really do is just cry for the guy. I mean, maybe not quite like a baby, but I mean, it's just heartbreaking for a guy of his caliber that was so good, and an MVP, the youngest MVP in NBA history, still is to this day. And it's just sad that a promising career of superstardom and hopefully championships and more MVPs to follow may never reach the potential it once had, and that's sad to say for Derrick Rose. I mean, your thoughts and prayers go out to him, and hope that, not even from a basketball standpoint, but just that he can recover and be able to walk and play with his kids and have a normal life the way his knees are going. But from a basketball standpoint, I just would love to see him on the court and finish a season, whether that be 60 games, 50 games, just be able to make it to the end of April and play, which, if Chicago is right and he comes back in 4 to 6 weeks, and Chicago's going to make the playoffs, you'd hope he can play in the playoffs. But at this point, do you risk it, or do you shut him down and give him the extra months of rehab and hope he comes back stronger next year? But the clock is ticking on this team, on the core and Tom Thibodeau in Chicago, because supposedly ownership and Thibodeau have disagreements. So it's going to be a hard place to be, but and a hard decision to make for Chicago. Do you shut him down, or do you bring him back if he's ready to go with his medical history? So, and then of course last week we mentioned Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh is done for the season, and our prayers go out to him. And not even from a basketball standpoint, just you really hope Chris Bosh is able to get healthy, be able to live a normal life, and recover from the setback in his life. A blood clot in the lung is no laughing matter, and prayers and thoughts go out to him. And I just hope that he takes his time recovering. No rush back to the court. Everyone knows I don't like the Miami Heat, but this is nothing to do with basketball and who I do or do not like. This is all about a man's health, and I'm not the biggest Chris Bosh fan. I am on record saying I think he is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. but I do want to see him on the court. I don't want to see him go out due to this. I'd rather see him off the court because his team's not playing, rather than him off the court because he has a serious medical condition. So prayers and thoughts with Chris Bosh for the rest of this season and going forward, and we hope to see him back on the floor next year at some point, whether that's at the beginning of the season or the middle of the season or whenever. Just hope he can make a recovery and be able to live a normal life as well. So we're going to turn to a little bit of a different story now, and it's not that time of year, but I just like playing the music, so I gotta play it because it's a story about the NFL, the National Football League. So Adrian Peterson is apparently going to be reinstated coming up here in the next month or so. And it's going to be interesting to see how dicey and how ugly this is going to get with the Minnesota Vikings, because the way that it looks right now is Adrian Peterson has come out and pretty much said he doesn't want to be a Minnesota Viking. The Vikings have said they want him back. Peterson can't trust the Vikings. The Vikings didn't really do much to help him in the situation that he was in, so it's going to be very interesting going forward to see how this plays out, because Adrian Peterson can make the most money with the Minnesota Vikings, but he does not want to play there. And if he wants to get a championship, rumor has it the Dallas Cowboys, yeehaw, them Dallas Cowboys, they would love to get Adrian Peterson. Now, yes, they do currently have DeMarco Murray and working out contract negotiations with him, who was and is the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year and NFL leading rusher from this last season. But if you can get Adrian Peterson, a once-in-a-lifetime back, maybe the greatest back of all time, depending on what his numbers can be and if he can stay healthy going forward, you got to take a reach at it if you're the Dallas Cowboys, and you're hoping you can get him for a little cheap, because obviously he's going to be cheaper than what the Minnesota Vikings are paying him. So if he's willing to take a pay cut and wants out of Minnesota bad enough, the Dallas Cowboys, I think, have got to take a shot at this and go after him, or at least some contender. The Indianapolis Colts have also been interested as well. They need a running back as well because Trent Richardson ain't working for them. But if he wants the money, he stays in Minnesota. If he wants to go for a championship, I think he needs to go to either Indianapolis or Dallas Cowboys, because both those teams, the way that they're designed, they're ready to win now. They're just missing about one or two pieces, and he could be the part that puts them over the top. Dallas Cowboys' best line in the NFL last season, and the Indianapolis Colts need to tighten up their defense a little bit, and get a run game. They get Adrian Peterson. You got one of the best running backs. Whoo-wee, is that going to be a good team? I mean, we're talking about shots will be fired. Click, click, boom. Shotgun fired. They'll be so good. So it'll be interesting to see what Adrian Peterson does and what his decisions will be going forward. But it does look like he will be reinstated for this upcoming season. Now, let's sticking with the NFL. Let's talk about the San Diego Chargers here in San Diego. A lot of talk has been coming out this last week about this whole stadium thing going on right now. And oh man, is it going to be a waiting game. People in San Diego just sitting there listening like this. Do 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 do. When's that stadium going to get decided? We want our Chargers. Do 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 do. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out process with this Chargers stadium. There's rumors going around that the Chargers and the Oakland Raiders have agreed to build a stadium in L.A. If you've seen the layout for this thing, it looks like a giant cruise ship that just wrecked inland. I mean, it's just a big old-looking boat thing turned inside out almost. I mean, it's going to be a beaut. Whoa, let me tell you, if this thing gets built, it's going to be one of the finest football stadiums you've ever seen. But ultimately, I do hope and think think that the Chargers will stay in San Diego. That's honestly what I'm more hoping for rather than what my heart is telling me or than what my mind's telling me. That's what my heart wants. But it's going to be a dicey situation. Supposedly the MTS, the metric transit system, that's where their bus yard is where they want to build the stadium. It would take them a few years to get a new place to move the bus yard, which that would move it back. It'd be about another decade before the Chargers would have their new stadium, because they want to build it downtown, down by the bay. So it's gonna be an ugly situation. The taxpayers don't want to pay. The Chargers want it down by the bay in downtown. The MTS would have to change where they're located. So it's just a whole dicey situation. It's almost like a little domino effect, and it's gotten really ugly really fast, and it's just, I don't see a way that it's going to work right now, but ultimately I'm hoping that somehow everything comes together and the Chargers stay here. And I just, the Raiders and the Chargers sharing a stadium just seems so wrong. I mean, it just does. I mean, you're going to take two of the biggest rivals in the NFL and in the same division where they got to play each other twice a year and put them in the same stadium when they already flat out hate each other. The fans flat out hate each other. I mean, I just don't see a way it works. And everyone wants to say, oh, well, the Giants and the Jets share a stadium. Well, yeah, the Jets are in the AFC. The Giants are in the NFC. They meet about once every 8 years, and it's really not a big deal. You're talking about two teams that are huge rivals that don't like each other at all. I mean, can you imagine going to a game as a Charger fan? You have 8 games there as a season ticket holder. Those seats are your seats. You put down thousands of dollars for those seats. And then the Raiders and the Chargers play one of their 2 games. The Raiders are the home team. You try to go to the game, but you can't sit in your seats because those seats belong to the Raiders season ticket holder, and those are his seats. You and a Raider fan have the same season ticket seats? Are you kidding me? Like, that ain't gonna work. I mean, you can't even, your team's playing in their stadium, but you can't go because you're the visiting team. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good idea to me. It doesn't seem like it's gonna work. But if Oakland doesn't get the stadium they want and the Chargers don't get the stadium they want, it's going to get really ugly really, really fast. And for both teams and both cities want to keep their teams, but it's just, there's so much complication in this process. I don't know Oakland's situation. I do know the Chargers have a lot against them. And then if you know downtown San Diego very well, you know that it's going to be hard to find another place because there's not a lot of place to build where there's that much land. Your only other option really is knock down Qualcomm and then rebuild there. But then where do you put the Chargers while you're building the new stadium? I mean, you can put them in Petco Park, but the Padres wanted their own stadium and wanted out of Qualcomm to begin with. So then they're sharing again, and it's just... Oh, lordy. Oh, my head is throbbing like a heartbeat right now trying to figure all this out. So before I get too worked up, I think I'm just gonna let that one go and move on to the next topic. So the next topic is I want to talk about who I think is going to be the champion, who is going to rule in the NBA, who has been the best player so far. This is one of the tightest, most exciting, one of the most amazing MVP races I have seen in some time. Normally there's 2 guys that usually separate. Sometimes there's one that's above the rest in certain years. But this year I'm sitting here looking at this list and it's hard to decide who is the king, who is the champ, who is the MVP of the National Basketball Association. It's really come down to 4 guys to me. You got Russell Westbrook of the Oklahoma City Thunder. You've got Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. You got James Harden of the Houston Rockets. And you've got LeBron James of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it's gonna be hard to figure this one out. You think my head was throbbing from talking about the Chargers Stadium? Trying to figure out who the best player right now now is in the NBA is about just as tough. I did my homework. I got some numbers here for you. Let's take a look at who we think the MVP should be. First off, let's talk about LeBron James of the Cleveland Cavaliers and his resume and what he could do. Right now, his averages across the board: 26 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. His team 37 and 23, and they currently reside as the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. For the month of February, which just ended yesterday, he put up 24 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Ooh, that is a good month. But let's go to the next candidate, James Harden of the Houston Rockets. For the season, 27 points, leading the NBA in scoring, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. His team sits at 40 and 18, and they are the 3rd seed in the wild boom shooting West. And he, for the month of February, put up 26 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Again, a very good February. Averaged 2 more points than LeBron, same amount of assists, same amount of rebounds. So you got to give the nod there to Harden as of right now after that month. And then we look at Stephen Curry, 24 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds for the season. His team sits 45 and 11, the best record in the National Basketball Association, and the number 1 seed in the Wild West. Boom! Shotguns firing. It is a wild west. And for the month of February, 26 points, same as James Harden, but only 6 assists and 4 rebounds. So as you can see, his number's a little bit less than Harden for the month of February. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, James Harden had a good February. He had a very good month. Why, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But did he have the best month of all? James Harden, sorry to tell ya, you did not have the best month of February, because my man, Russell Westbrook, the beast, he's averaging on the season right now 26.5 points, half a point behind James Harden, second leading scorer in the NBA, 8 assists and 7 rebounds. So as you can see, he averages as many assists as Stephen Curry, but more rebounds than all 3 of them together: Stephen Curry, James Harden, LeBron James. His team 32 and 27, but we gotta put an asterisk next to that because you know Kevin Durant's been gone a lot. He's missed almost 30 games now. Russell Westbrook missed 14, and they reside right now as the 8th seed in the Wild West. Chick boom, that shotgun in the Wild West. But with Russell Westbrook in the lineup, his team 29 and 15 may not sound super impressive, but consider this: his team without him only won 3 basketball games. So put that into consideration. His team could only win 3 basketball games without him. And for the month of February, historic, the only player, I repeat, the only player to do this since Oscar Robertson, the only other player in the entire history of the NBA, the National Basketball Association, in a month, averaged 31 points, 10 assists, and 9 rebounds. He was 1 rebound away, not 1 total, but as in averaging 1 rebound more from averaging a triple-double for an entire month. Only Oscar Robertson has done that before. And in the month, and right now, this streak is still active. Russell Westbrook has put up 3 consecutive triple-doubles. The NBA record for the entire history of the National Basketball Association. 9 straight triple-doubles by, if you can guess this, good for you, and you should know it anyway, Wilt Chamberlain, not Michael Jordan, not Magic Johnson, not Oscar Robinson. Wilt Chamberlain, 9 consecutive triple-doubles. Russell Westbrook has done 3. In case you're wondering, Michael Jordan has done 7 in a row. So, something that has not been done since 2009 by LeBron James when he did win the MVP trophy. So, Russell Westbrook, 3 straight triple-doubles, almost average one for an entire month, and his team is rolling. Only 3 losses in the month of February. So here's where it really breaks down for me. To me, this is 4 guys I know that I listed, but to me, it's more of a 2-horse race at this point in time because LeBron James is playing good, and I think he can come back up and steamroll into it. We know he is the king. We know he has what it takes. But James Harden, to me, 3rd seed, the numbers are good. He's the leading scorer, but I don't think he's done enough to be in there. He right now would be my number 4 MVP. LeBron James would be number 3, but again, we know if he wants the trophy bad enough, he's going to come for it. You better get ready, buckle those seatbelts, strap yourself in, because that tractor is a-coming rolling down the field. He's going to come for you, and he's going to tear up all the wheat in sight and tear that field down and strip it down if he wants to, because there's a fire ablazing inside of his soul if he wants that MVP trophy. So he's number 3 right now. And then this is where it gets tough for me, because you know where my heart is. You know I'm from OKC, and you know how I want to go for Russell Westbrook. But as of right now, I got to put Mr. Westbrook the Beast at number 2, only due to the fact that Stephen Curry does have the best record in the NBA. He is putting up phenomenal numbers. If we're going just based off numbers, Russell Westbrook's number 1 right now, hands down. He is number 2 in steals. He is number 5 in assists, and he's number 2 in scoring in the entire league. And he's coming after James Harden for that scoring title if he continues to put up these types of numbers. I mean, if he can put up another triple-double and these types of numbers for March, woo-wee, watch out, because that boy is going to be smack dab at the top of my leaderboard for MVP. But right now, he's number 2. He's come on strong. He's playing fantastic. Got to get that record a little bit better. You got to probably climb up to about the 6th seed, maybe the 5. That's the only thing. I understand the asterisk next to it without Durant and the injuries and where they started off, and he has shown his value definitely, because I do think without him, this team, obviously he's proved they cannot win as well without him with, again, only 3 wins. So he is very valuable, but Stephen Curry is really what makes Golden State go. They got the best record in the NBA. He is shooting lights out from beyond the arc, and I think right now Stephen Curry, if the season ended today, March 1st, he would be my MVP. But again, there's still a month and a half left in the season. It is still open. Again, LeBron James, I think, can still get in there. I still think Russell Westbrook, again, if he puts up numbers like this again in March, it's going to be real hard to not have him atop my leaderboard. And then James Harden, I honestly, I don't think it's as close as people think. Everyone says Stephen Curry, James Harden. I actually think he's number 4 on my list, mainly because his team is 3. I know his team is higher than LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, but you can't deny what those two are doing and how fantastic they've been. So there you go on that. So I am out of time. I appreciate you listening in, and it's been a good show. Well, I will be back next week, next Sunday, with more sports recap, and I hope everyone out there can stay warm. Get yourself a nice bearskin rug and a nice fire, and get all nice and toasty up next to it. I know that it's cold out there and it's snowy and icy, unless you live here in the beautiful town of San Diego. I appreciate you stopping by and listening, and yeehaw, have yourself a good old week. You've been listening to Sports Cowboy Jay.